acting like they've never seen it before. You know, we spoke about it that night, and seeing how everything's playing out is kind of lame, honestly.
Literally a moment in time. We passed through that moment, and we're moving on.
As you all know, the playoffs are officially underway, with play-in action happening that will influence the results of the 22-23 NBA championship. Minnesota is one team that finds itself in play-in contention and just lost their first play-in attempt to the Lakers in a game they could have easily won if at full strength. They have another chance at the Oklahoma City Thunder, where in a win, they take the 8th seed to match up against the best team in the conference or go home in back-to-back first-round exits. With that on the line, one would think their next game would be the biggest game of the season for the Timberwolves, but it's not. That game already happened April 9th, 2023 against the New Orleans Pelicans, where by halftime, the team had lost 2 starters. One of their best three-point shooters at 39% and second best on the team in blocks per game in Jaden McDaniels, due to letting frustrations get the best of him and punching a wall, fracturing his hand out indefinitely. By that time, they also lost their trending topic and newly acquired 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and supposed game-changer Rudy Gobert. Gobert has been the center of controversy ever since joining the team in what many may feel as the worst trade of the offseason and maybe even recent history of the league. As if losing McDaniels wasn't the cheddar bob way to complicate your season, losing Rudy Gobert because he threw a punch at his own teammate on the bench was even worse, being sent home, then suspended for their first play-in game and a chance to grab the 7th seed in a win. The team came out and lost that game to the Lakers, a game the Timberwolves led most away, but managed just 7 points in the final 11 minutes of game action. At full strength, there's a great chance the Wolves defeat the Lakers, losing by 6 points, allowing 30 points for LeBron and 25 for AD, mostly in the paint, as well as 25 rebounds between the two. Not to mention Anthony Edwards playing the worst game of his life and could have used some 3-point shooting help from Daniels, going 0 for 9, scoring 9 points in 42 minutes. Taurean Prince filled in okay, but the Wolves were eventually too small and dominated in the paint 54-36. That thrown punch in some eyes was the last straw on how they feel about trading for Gobert, hurting them now, in the future, and affecting their young stars. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Teammates fighting each other in sports has been happening since the beginning of competition. In the NBA, you've even heard of past players speaking on it happening as a normal part of the season. I'm sure you've heard of Jordan and Kerr, Shaq, Scott Skiles, Cousins, Green, Arenas and Crittenton took it way too far, and just to begin the season, Draymond and Jordan Poole caught in 2K. I've seen teammates angry at each other on the bench, but it was a first to see a player of Rudy Gobert's accomplishments and contract importance do something like that in a game that meant so much to their season. It threw their season away, in my opinion. Highly likely they lose their next game with a distraction, and even if they win, won't beat the best team in the conference in a 4-game series. 3 of the biggest effects of the punch.
That's just something you don't see every day. I know the tensions.
Effect number 1, the team immediately. For a team that worked hard to grab the 8th spot, winning their last 3 games of the season, the Timberwolves needed all the focus they could get coming into this year's playoffs through the play-in tournament once again. The absolute last thing needed was for 2 of their most unassuming players getting into a pride match for all the fans to see. To state the obvious, which we'll know much of the outcome a few hours after seeing this, the punch puts the Wolves on eggshells going into a win or Cancun game against a confident OKC team whose young stars Josh Giddey and Gilgeous-Alexander showed up big against the Pelicans in their play-in opener, both going for over 30 points, Giddey a near triple-double, and Shai as usual unstoppable getting to the cup. Throw in Lou Dort's 27 and some help off the bench, and the Thunder couldn't be more ready for a wounded team like Minnesota, who lost their last game. One of their stars in Karl Anthony is nursing an injury but fighting through it. Their other all-star, Anthony Edwards, had the worst game of his career thus far, shooting 9 blanks from 3 at the rim, and didn't look engaged all game, scoring a career low in the playoffs/play-in with 9 points in 42 minutes. With Rudy suspended, the only thing that may have patched that wound was a win versus the Lakers. I don't see the T-Wolves beating the Thunder as Rudy is made available to return to action with the momentum all on OKC's side, while the T-Wolves come in vulnerable to be caught off guard as they crush eggshells around what happened and now being on the floor for the first time together. Maybe next season they get over that with a summer between them and time to work things out, but the time was now, and immediately that punch drained morale and momentum at the worst time. The Warriors had an entire season to work their punch out. The T-Wolves have 1 game. Effect number 2, Rudy Gobert going forward. Rudy Gobert's trade to the Timberwolves was always the elephant in the room since it happened in 2022, seeing how much the team eventually gave the Utah Jazz for him. Gobert is no slouch by any means. He's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time All-Star, and All-NBA performer. It easily could have went the other way, and he'd be the final piece this young team needed to be a viable contender in the playoffs right now and grow together past his prime into a title contender. But he's also 30 years old now, about to be 31 in June, 7'1", so always susceptible to injury or an overnight decline, and in the middle of a 5-year, $203 million contract extension running through 24-25 and player option for the year following. He makes $40 million plus per for the next 3 years, so is going to have to be in this environment with Kyle Anderson through his next year at least. Anderson is a free agent after next year. When Draymond punched Poole, it was different because that team just came off a championship and I'm sure focused on defending it and building on something special going forward, so could work through an incident as such. I don't think Rudy has the personality that can smooth that out, and Anderson most likely won't be there long enough for it to become real as the Wolves maybe look for another veteran. With Rudy already dealing with this season being his worst since his early days in Utah and only averaging less than 2 blocks a game, lowest since his rookie season, now he has to have thick skin and focus to weather being blamed for losing the team's chances this year on his emotions. Not saying the Wolves had a great chance to win it all, but to be there, anything could happen. Very least, experience for the younger players. Effect number 3, effects on the stars. Lastly, the punch has a grave chance to affect Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards directly going forward. As alluded to, if Rudy Gobert lets this situation, where he acted way out of his character and embarrassed the team in front of their fans by punching his teammate, affect his play, it would make the criticisms to trade for him that more valid. He's locked up in contract and salary space through 2026, and the team just gave away 4 first-round picks over the next 6 years to have Rudy Gobert in his mid-30s making $50 million. Anthony Edwards is in his 3rd season, so the next 6 years will be important in determining his future, not only with the team, but his legacy. Taking this team deep into the playoffs and at least contend at some point are the expectations for a player with his potential. Gobert being as expected for this team is important to Anthony's success. Karl Anthony Towns is 27, entering what should be his prime years, so will need another consistent and effective big to help carry the load defensively and ability to rebound and block shots. He's dealt with injuries and only played 29 games this season and had his worst career year since being a rookie. All in all, Rudy Gobert is important to the Timberwolves immediately, the near future, and the future team history. They expected a lot from him, and in no way is this punch the be-all, set-all because it's only the first time he's been involved in a situation like this. Hopefully, they make things right and turn things around starting next game. Good luck, but for these reasons, the Timberwolves may be stunted for the foreseeable future. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.